Hello again, everybody. This is Mr. Crozier, and we're just going over our second day of notes here for today's lesson. So, this is going to deal more with absolute value, and we're going to apply it to number lines so that we can practice drawing pictures to help us organize our thoughts a little bit better and figure things out. So, pictures oftentimes in math will help us to see things in a different way that we didn't think of before when we're just trying to use equations or expressions to figure out answers to problems. So, for number 1 here, we're going to try what is the distance between 1 and 4. So, we're given a nice little number line here. So, what we want to do to find that distance is we're going to place a dot on number 1. And then another dot on the number 4 on our number line. And now all we want to do is count the spaces between that. So if we start at our 1, and notice we are going 1, 2, and 3 spaces to get to 4. So how many spaces? Well, we just said that. It was 3, right? So now let's try another one. So it's asking us what is the distance between -6 and 3. So same type of deal. We're going to put ourselves a dot on -6 and another dot on 3 on our number line here. And once again, it says to just start counting from -6 until we get to 3 and see how many spaces that's going to be. So we're just counting our whole numbers on the way. So we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So how many spaces was that? We said that is 9. So it's not necessary to draw these little hoops on our way from -6 to 3, but I find that sometimes it just helps me count better so that I know that I haven't hit a spot twice. So we're going to take a look at here what's another way we can figure out the distance between these two things on a number line. So for number 1, if we look back up, all we're trying to do is find the difference between the spaces 1 and 4. So the difference between 1 and 4 is 3. So what we can do in that case is take the difference. So we want to think, what is the operation when we're using our difference? So difference we know is subtraction, so we're going 4 minus 1. So the distance, well, that equals 3, so this distance will be 3. We didn't need to draw a picture. This is another way we can do it, but if a picture helps you, then by all means use a picture. So once again, just like number 2, we're using subtraction because we want to find the difference. So what we are doing is so we want the difference between -6 and 3, which is, well, when we subtract this out, we get -9 because -6 minus 3 is -9. But remember, we're trying to find distances here, right? So the distance is the absolute value of -9, which is 9. We learned yesterday that absolute values are distances, and distances are always positive. So the absolute value of -9 here is equal to 9. So the conclusion we draw is that the distance between two rational numbers is the absolute value of their differences. So a couple more examples here. So we can get a little bit fancy if we want to. So since I don't have too much space, I'm going to draw my thermometer here sideways, but we all know what a thermometer looks like. And then I'm going to call this right here, we'll call 0. So it tells us here we do not need to put every number on the number line. All we want to do is use the numbers we got. So it says that the record high temperature in Arizona was 110 degrees. So we're going to put our 110 here. And the record low was -4. So of course this is not to scale, but it doesn't need to be scale in order to figure this out. So how are we going to find that difference? Well, all we need to do is take our distances. So there's a couple ways we can do this. We can take the absolute value of -4, and that's going to be the distance from -4 to 0, and tack on our absolute value of 110. So this ends up being 4 plus 10, which is 4 plus 110, excuse me, which is 114. Another way that we can do this is take our differences like we did before. So we're going to end up doing 110 minus difference, that -4, which is going to give us, once again, 114. Whoops, come on back. So what's the difference between these two temperatures? Well, it is 114 degrees. All right, so the next problem here, number 2, tells us Simone stands on a pier that is 2 feet above the surface of the lake. She accidentally drops her cell phone in the water and it sinks 6 feet below the surface of the water. So we've got a little pier here that is 2 feet above the lake. So we're going to draw the legs of our pier. And our lake is right here. Waves for water. Pardon my horrible drawing. So this little space right here we know is 2 feet. And then she drops her cell phone. And it is 6 feet below the water. So below is going to indicate this is -6 below the water. So once again, we're just going to find the difference between these two, and we can do this either way. So we can take our 2 feet minus our -6, which is going to be 2 plus 6, which gives us 8. And it works the same way. We can do -6 minus 2, which is -8. But remember, we want to do absolute value since this is a distance, and the absolute value of -8 is 8. So how far away is she from her phone? Well, she is 8 feet from her phone. Couple more here. So Sam lives 13 blocks west of his school. So we're going to call this building here the school. We're going to call this point 0. And we can think of this as another number line problem. So Sam's house, put an S on it for Sam, is 13 blocks west of his school. So since we're going left, we're going to think of this as -13. Susan lives 5 blocks from her school. So it looks like I can't use S again, so I'm going to use SU for Susan. And she is 5 blocks to the east of her school, or to the right. So, using what we did before, we're just going to take the difference between these two things and then the absolute value of that difference. So I'm going to take my -13 and difference, so we're going to subtract 5, and we get -18. But remember, distance is always positive, so what we're going to do is take the absolute value of this distance, which is 18. So how far away would Sam have to walk if he wants to visit Susan? He would have to walk 18 blocks to get to Susan's house. So as we can see from my drawings, they don't necessarily need to be great. We just need to be able to visualize the information that we need to. So one last one, another thermometer problem. I got a little bit more room here than I did on the first one. So here is my horrible thermometer. So the record high temperature was 101 degrees last year, so we're going to call this 101 and 0 right about here. And the record low last winter was -4 degrees again, so -4 here. So what's the difference between the two temperatures? Well, difference, we're just going to be subtracting, right? So we can take our 101 minus that -4. So when we're subtracting negatives, that is going to be addition plus 4. So we know that this is 105 degrees of difference between these temperatures on our thermometer. Alright, so that is just our little bit of notes for today and our example problems to go through. So what we need to do now is go ahead and open up 1-2, the assignment for 1-2, complete that on a separate sheet of paper or print it out and complete it on that paper. And then you're going to take a photo of it and turn that file into our 1-2 turn-in bin. All right, good luck everybody, and feel free to email me if you have any questions or concerns about this.